First, as I've said previously, I find the budget as presented to be in fine form with respect to what I believe to be required by state or federal law. Ms. Vargas is a highly skilled CFO, and the complexity of the system of accounting is significant. She operates under the direction of the superintendent, and one can assume the information she provides to the board is based on this direction and her knowledge of what is legally required. However, I see meeting regulatory requirements to be the minimum standard to accomplish one thing, which is compliance with the law. It's clear that board oversight of the district's budget requires substantially more than what is required to be disclosed by law. And incidentally, this is not unlike any other regulatory program I've encountered in my 26-year career, where the requirements to comply with the law leave an organization well short of what it takes to actually manage its business. Having said all that, I will vote no tonight on the budget on the following basis. The budget includes funding for social emotional learning in all district elementary and middle schools. I will not vote for a budget that funds SEL programs that adhere to CASEL standards. As I've indicated many times in public meetings, I oppose this programming because it's intended by its creators to be used as a delivery mechanism to drive one-sided social and political ideologies and activism among our children beginning at kindergarten. This budget includes $7.3 million in spending tied to state-provided achievement and integration funding, for which the district administration proposed a goal of 0.1% annual improvement in academic achievement in reading and math. I do not agree with many of the programs being funded by the A&I money, and I believe the academic achievement goals are unacceptable. The budget includes at least $5.7 million in spending for staff development, for which we do not have any details on what exactly will be programmed, despite the fact that district administration is yet to demonstrate that staff development topics can be managed consistently in a manner that follows our policies that govern it, all too often focused on social justice or equity rather than teaching or professional practice. And the budget includes an undefined level of spending on the district's equity achievement plan, which includes highly controversial programming and objectives, including concepts rooted in CRT. With respect to evaluating the actual numbers, I made a substantial effort to review the budget in detail during this round of budgeting. During the discussion of last year's budget, I requested line item detail related to spending on the equity achievement plan and social emotional learning. District administration could not provide this information, citing concerns with workload and a lack of interest on the part of other board members. So this year, in preparation for tonight's meeting, I requested and I received full detail in raw data format for the district budget. As you might expect for a $680 million budget, the file was massive, nearly 19 megabytes in size, and included nearly 36,000 lines. Nevertheless, I spent in excess of 10 hours reviewing the information over the past weeks, and I would provide the following summary of my findings to the benefit of the public. Based on my assessment, it's impossible for a board member to put this information into a format that is usable to evaluate the impact or the effectiveness of how the district spends money. It can be broken down into categories, such as salaries for classroom teachers, cell phone stipends, and dental insurance. It can be split up to see the sources of funding, such as ESSER funds, state or federal programs and grants, general fund, etc. It can be split up by school building or site, or by major activities such as the superintendent or the general counsel's office. However, it's not possible to see any named program or expenditure. You cannot see how much money is budgeted for social emotional learning, for example. You cannot see how much we allocate for letters training. You cannot see how much we budget for a particular professional development session, nor what the program is, nor who will present it. You cannot see how many licensed teachers fill administrative functions, which are positions that don't have classroom teaching responsibilities, at a district office or in schools, despite knowing there are dozens of these positions, and the associated expenses sum to millions of dollars. Anything with any degree of specificity, which is what I refer to when I speak of line item detail, is not possible to decipher from among the 35,000 lines. Why is this a problem? It's a problem because we operate this $680 million machine for the purpose of providing a quality education to the community's children. Looking at even the most basic measures of success, which is reading, math, and science proficiency rates, it's clear we're struggling. Essentially, half of our students cannot perform at grade level in these areas. It's the job of the superintendent and the district administration to create a program that ensures every child reaches their full academic potential. It is the job of the school board to make sure they do it. But how do we do this when we lack any ability to evaluate our investments in staff, curriculum, buildings, and programs with any specificity? To do so requires us to know how much we're spending on any given program, along with a clearly defined set of objectives and measurements to determine whether the investment is adding value. No one on this board has the kind of information that would be required to do such an evaluation. And the proof is in the kinds of goals that are developed by the administration and approved by this board. And I'll give you a few notable examples. The first is the $7.3 million Achievement and Integration Plan, which included the goals for improving academic achievement in math and reading of 0.1% annually. Next, the district's goals for math, reading, and college readiness, which are as reported in the most recent update of the Equity Achievement Plan, included attainment of the following proficiency levels. For math, a goal of 55%. We actually achieved 52.5. For reading, a goal of 55.2%. We actually achieved 52.7. For achievement gap improvement for math, the goal was to drive it down from 24.7 to 23.9%. We actually achieved 23.5%. And for achievement gap improvement for reading was to drive it down from 18.3 to 17.7. The actual achieved was an increase to 18.8. Next, the superintendent's performance pay plan is split 50-50 on two parts. One of those parts is student achievement. The goals for student achievement in the superintendent's bonus do not even match the district's goals. Rather, they include the following requirements. Increase by any amount the percent proficient in MCA reading and math. For this school year, this goal wasn't met as our reading proficiency fell. Increase by any amount MCA reading proficiency for third grade students. This goal was actually met with an increase in proficiency from 50.7 to 50.9%. Increase by any amount MCA math proficiency for 11th grade students. This goal was not met this year, as the rate of 11th graders proficient in math actually declined from 43.3% to 36.7%. And then reduce by any amount the achievement gap for MCA reading and math proficiency for all students. This goal was not met as the reading gap grew from 18.3 to 18.8%. And finally, the district's strategic priorities, which are heavy on scorecard indicators as measurements. I counted 28 of them. It fails to identify targets for any of them. We tout this repeatedly that we're a data-driven organization focused on continuous improvement. However, you won't find a single specific goal in the document. As I reviewed these goals, the results, and the budgeted spending, I could not help but ask myself if this is the kind of performance our community expects. Is the kind of oversight and accountability this board provides for the $680 million investment that we're making in public education in line with even the most basic principles of organizational and fiscal management? And the answer is unquestionably no. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from board members?